Many of us here are deeply concerned with how far this state's executive body is willing to go in taking the rights of local authority. This executive overreach would like to determine what is in the best interest of your community. As duly elected officials, you took an oath to faithfully perform the duties of this office. With this, it is your responsibility to represent your constituents in a manner that protects and defends the autonomy of this city. With that, cities are not required to enter into the 287G agreement. It is a choice, and one that would be in Key West's best interest to not support. There is immense power in local government. The governor and attorney general are utilizing fear tactics to force the beautiful city of Key West to enter into this agreement under duress. There are other routes available. We, the people, implore you to utilize any and all resources, especially the voice of your constituents. This commission is in a unique position to retain its power and support the needs of the community. If you stand for nothing, what will you fall for? Thank you for our time.
After Emma is Heather, and then Tessa Pettit.
Good evening, Commissioners. Hello, my name is Emma Falig, and I'm a proud member of the Key West Immigrant Support Network. I'm reading excerpts from a letter from the ACLU of Florida. This letter was sent to all of you via email yesterday. The American Civil Liberties Union of Florida is a nonpartisan organization whose mission is to protect, defend, strengthen, and promote the constitutional rights and liberties of all people in Florida. We write to you regarding the Attorney General, James Othmeier's correspondence to the City Commission dated July 2nd. The Attorney General claims that the Commission's June 30th vote to void the city's existing 287G agreement with ICE violates Florida statute and refers to the possibility of suspension from office as consequence. But the Attorney General's arguments and threat rely on false premises. First, the Attorney General claims that when a city terminates a 287G agreement, the city violates Florida's prohibition on sanctuary policies. But the plain text of these statutes makes no such leap. The relevant statutes are Florida Statute Sections 908.103 and 908.102, neither of which are violated when a city voids a 287G agreement. Second, the Attorney General asserts that Key West voiding its 287G agreement violates Florida's Best Efforts Clause. This statute does not require cities to undertake 287G agreements, nor does it prohibit them from voiding such agreements. There are numerous ways that local law enforcement agencies could comply with this obligation without implementing 287G agreements. Additionally, Governor Ron DeSantis has no constitutional authority to suspend municipal officers under these circumstances. At best, the governor and attorney general are woefully misreading Florida law. At worst, they are deliberately distorting it in order to bully locally elected officials using the threat of retaliation. To be clear, under Florida law, the city of Key West is not required to enter or maintain a 287G agreement with ICE. No state or federal law requires any law enforcement agency to transform its employees into another agency's officers just to participate in an operation. Yet to the Attorney General's strange logic, any local government entity in Florida could be required to turn over the entirety of its law enforcement resources to federal immigration efforts. This makes no sense, and it is not the law. A free state respects local officials to make choices that make sense for their communities. It does not weaponize the law to punish those who disagree with the political agenda of state officials. We urge you to resist authoritarian threats and to listen to the constituents who you serve. 287G programs transform local law enforcement into immigration agents and at a significant local cost. They also lead to illegal racial profiling and other civil rights abuses. Local officials fulfill their responsibility by thinking twice before joining the program.
After Heather is Tessa, and then Erica Rose.
Heather Slipko Bathurst, 1417 8th Street, 15 years freshwater conch, mother of a 2.5-year-old saltwater conch born here in Key West Hospital. I'm reading today an op-ed written by Javier Fernandez, former state representative and current mayor of South Miami, in support of the city of Key West. This week, the Key West City Commission voted 6-1 to void its 287G agreement with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. As an attorney and the mayor of South Miami, who recently took the state of Florida to court over this very issue, I applaud their decision. Other local governments should take note. Florida law requires local jailers to enter into 287G agreements to facilitate and honor immigration detainer requests. It does not compel cities to deputize local police as immigration agents. That distinction is at the heart of the lawsuit South Miami filed in circuit court earlier this year. Key West's commission understood that distinction. The agreement its chief of police signed in March also never received community input or legislative approval. By rescinding it, the city reaffirmed two principles: procedural transparency and community trust. Tourism is the lifeblood of the Keys. Pushing immigrant workers and visitors into the shadows makes everyone less safe and hurts the local economy. As mayors, we are sworn to protect all who reside in, work in, and visit our cities. Effective policing depends on trust. Victims reporting crimes, witnesses coming forward, parents trusting officers stationed outside schools. Turning local police into proxy ICE agents chills that trust and undermines public safety. Key West's decision also exposes the hollowness of the do-it-or-else threats coming from Tallahassee. If the state truly wanted 287G to be mandatory for municipalities, it would have made it law during this year's special session. Instead, lawmakers rejected that very proposal. Key West commissioners showed courage and fidelity to the rule of law and to their constituents. South Miami stands with Key West, and our legal challenge will continue because the rule of law and our oath of office to our constituents should carry more weight than political intimidation from Tallahassee. This is my personal note. Commissioners, I urge you to uphold the decision you made last week and postpone the resolution in front of you today. Let the courts decide in South Miami v. DeSantis. We are in an incredibly fragile legal situation currently, but right now the law is on our side. Remember, we never entered into a 287G agreement, something you yourselves confirmed last week, and thus we have not effectively exited one either. It is an incredibly subtle distinction, but it is also an incredibly clever one. The threats in Uthmaier's letter are thus uncredible as of now. That being said, voting on this agreement tonight, regardless of the way that the vote goes, moves those threats from empty to valid. I urge you, please postpone the resolution. Thank you.
So we have Tessa, Erica, and then Shayla Patton.
Good afternoon. I am Tessa Petit. I'm speaking on behalf of the Florida Immigrant Coalition. I am a resident of Miami-Dade and an advocate for immigrants' rights. Mayor and commissioners of the city of Key West, first and foremost, thank you for your bravery in voting against having a city of Key West enter into a 287G agreement last week. You gave hope to immigrants in these dark times, reminding us that for some people, we do matter. Know that we are grateful for you setting the example for other cities in the state. It made a difference for me because I am too an immigrant. We are here to confirm that you are not required to sign into a 287G. The Florida legislature introduced making 287G mandatory for local municipalities in the 2025 special legislative session and again during regular session, and in both times it did not pass. All the efforts of the Attorney General to strong-arm you to go against the will of the people are state overreach and the use of fear and intimidation against people that the community elected to be their voice on the dais. Back in 2012, the Department of Homeland Security canceled the task force model because it encouraged racial profiling and civil rights concerns. 287Gs do nothing more than divide communities, create a state of fear in our communities. We immediately see a reduction in crimes being reported, an increase in domestic violence, increase in health issues, reduced access to health care. It destroys businesses and therefore the economy, and gives a pass to people to openly and shamelessly exercise their racism. The immigrants in your community are not criminals. Haitians, and added yesterday, Nicaraguans, Hondurans, and Venezuelans on TPS will soon be added to the long list of targets that you will be giving to your police officers, and soon enough, denaturalized citizens. They are suffering from being targeted, feeling unwanted, constantly unsure about how their day will end. Every police officer will become a hunter after them and their children. You have the people's support and the legal right to not enter into a 287G agreement. In 24 hours, over 420 people sent to your inboxes letters confirming their support to you. You have heard from lawyers and community members. Since there are doubts on your rights and to make sure you do not play into the state's efforts to set precedents that will allow them to limit every municipality's power and eventually the people's rights, do not vote on this. Enjoy the city of South Miami. And we do offer pro bono services for elected.
Thank you. After Erica, it's Shayla Patton and then Daria Wood.
Good morning. I've been living and working in Key West for about 7 years now, under the philosophy of one human family. 2 years ago, I stood in this spot when the city was going to pass a resolution defending our city's drag queens, trans neighbors, and queer citizens. I asked a question. What is the city going to do? What action are they going to take? Because words are cheap. Vice Mayor Coffin listened to me and addressed those concerns. One of our commissioners blamed their constituents to just lay down and let DeSantis walk all over us. Some know me as Michael, but globally I'm known as Erica Rose, the drag queen who ran for your state representative last year under the platform of human rights and home rule. And here we are facing a situation that endangers both. I was unable to attend last week's meeting because living in Key West, you have to work 3 full-time jobs. But there are a few things I wanted to say. Some of them you may have already heard, but deserve to hear again. There's a difference between standing aside and letting the federal law enforcement do their job and actively standing in their way. We are not a sanctuary city. If a resident is caught allegedly committing a crime, they go through the court system. If they are found guilty and then it is discovered they are undocumented, we hand them over to the appropriate authorities to let them be deported. However, entering the country undocumented is not a crime. It is that of a civil offense, very much similar to a parking ticket, and you generally don't get arrested for a parking ticket. However, racial profiling is illegal and unethical. The kidnapping and trafficking of our citizens, regardless of their immigration status, without being proven guilty of a crime, is also illegal and against City Resolution 17-150. Florida Senate Bill 4C, passed earlier this year, would make entering our state undocumented a crime. However, that is currently being blocked by federal judges, and Attorney General Uthmeier has been found in contempt for filing this ruling. The defense of the Nuremberg defense, or I was just following orders, is shaky at best and dangerous at worst. Trump will not stay in office forever, and neither will DeSantis. When they're writing the history books, I ask, how do you want to be remembered? So personally, I tell you, please reject this resolution. Professionally, I say, postpone it and see what the courts have to say. As a community and as a culture, ICE doesn't belong in our streets. It belongs in our cocktails.
Shayla, then Daria, and Mark Watson.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, thank you so much. My name is Shayla, and I have luckily called Key West home for most of my life. I sat in this meeting last week completely in awe and inspired by everyone who spoke, and although this kind of thing really terrifies me, what scares me more is the blind eye that people are willing to turn about this very real issue. More than that, actually, I've watched as people gleefully cheered on the kidnapping of people by masked men, many of whom refuse to identify themselves, people's rights being stripped away as if that couldn't mean that any of us are next. I've read all of these violent and hateful comments on our local Facebook pages, people literally talking about running folks over in their trucks and assaulting women, and some of the worst things that I have ever seen. And all I can think of is that that is not the spirit of Key West. And while they hide behind keyboards to spew their vitriol, those of us with love and hope and bravery in our hearts are here in this room right now fighting for what's right. And this is the spirit of Key West. This is one human family. How many of us are in Key West because we are lucky enough to have family members who were immigrants themselves, including myself? I was not born here. I was brought here as a kid. I was raised by my uncle, who was a Cuban immigrant. His family fled Cuba in the 50s to build a life here in South Florida, and luckily for me, here in Key West. I remember sitting in class at Key West High School, learning of all the atrocities of World War II, asking myself how people could possibly stand by and do nothing while their neighbors and loved ones and their friends were taken, and now I see it happening in real time, and I refuse to be silent. Our Key West High School mascot, as cheesy as this might sound, is the Fighting Conch, and right now I feel like all of us need to channel that fighting energy and fight for what we know in our hearts to be right. I've also spent the last 3 years working for a local tour company, taking immense pride in the culture of this island and delving really deeply into the entire history of Key West and discovering how crucial the immigrant community has been in shaping this island. The resilience and vibrancy of this island would not exist without immigrants. There is a minority group here in Key West that is possibly making the island a little bit worse for wear because none of us can afford to live here, but those are an entirely different discussion. I know that it's scary to stand up to this increasingly fascist administration, but we all know that they are on the wrong side of history already. It's often these little pockets of resistance that give strength to the whole, and we cannot back down now, so I urge you not to be cowed by these heartless bullies. We can't let fascism win. We have a chance to inspire even more cities to stand up and do what's right here. Thank you very much.
All right, y'all, we live from Key West. City Town Hall meeting on the 287G agreement. It seems like everybody pretty much telling the commissioners, stick with your guns, don't change your decision or we're gonna vote you out. So let's just listen some more.
You've given me hope that we really can make a difference, and for now at least, we still have a voice. What concerns me is that our leaders in Tallahassee are trying to take that voice away and yet somehow claim that we are free. An agreement, by definition, as somebody already said, is a negotiation between two parties to come together in a harmonious arrangement decided by both sides. Chief Brandenburg was told and sincerely believed that this was mandatory and that he could lose his job if he didn't sign it. What we were entered into was a coercion, thinly veiled as an agreement and built upon fear and threats, choosing to not only tolerate, but enable those who abuse their elected power to threaten us, threaten your jobs, threaten to withhold funding. That's how corruption and abuse of power persists. That's how we turn a blind eye to bullies. That's how fear grows. I have the privilege of living in this great city because of my dad, who served in the Navy here during Vietnam. My dad loved his country and his neighbors. He was a man of faith who was kind to everyone, and one thing he always told my brothers and me was that fear is the opposite of love. When we make decisions out of fear, we lead ourselves astray from our higher calling in this world, a calling to be brave and just and honorable, to be the best versions of ourselves. I understand that you're under immense pressure and that people are trying to politicize this issue so they can manipulate it to serve their agendas. Do not be manipulated. This is not about politics, and we saw last week as business owners stood up and explained how it is affecting all of us by simple financial logistics alone. This is about taking our hardworking police force and turning them into puppets for a department that already has their own funding and manpower. It's putting them in an unfair position with their community, taking them away from valuable time protecting and serving, and forcing us to foot the bill. If I'm not mistaken, the House just passed a big, beautiful bill to triple funding for immigration and customs enforcement. If I'm not mistaken, that funding totals around $100 billion, all said. So why do we need to do their jobs for them exactly? Why are we being threatened? I'll tell you why. Peacocking, power wielding, bullying, trying to take away your rights as a governing body and send you and us the message that you don't have a choice in matters of defense in your own city. A mandatory agreement, that's literally an oxymoron. Silencing, overriding, and coercion, that's not democracy, commissioners. That's not democracy, that's dictatorship. ICE is going to continue about their mass mission without accountability, transparency, or adherence to due process. You might be tempted to yield to the Attorney General's threats because they want to financially penalize us. But aren't we already being financially penalized if we pay for their work? They want to fire you, but they didn't hire you. We did. We are standing behind you. I had chills last week when Commissioner Lee had his moment of bravery as former chief and current commissioner. His decision to vote for what he felt in his heart was right, even though it was hard, inspired all of us. Should they enact their threats, I will happily pay more taxes if that means I can go to sleep at night with a clear conscience, knowing that I made my decisions out of logic and fairness and honor and love, not fear. Thank you for continuing to defend us and our police and for making your decisions today.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, we have to stop meeting like this. Come to my bar. I'd rather see you there. I've waited on some of you before. The world's in chaos right now. Every day I wake up and I try to find some shred of good in my fellow humans. Being a bartender in a tourist town, you can't imagine just how daunting a task that is when you deal with drunks all day long. But last week, you did something good. You did something brave. You gave us hope, a light at the end of the tunnel. If you can go back on that, you're going to destroy the island's economy, its morale, its humanity. We went over this last week, and that's what this is. It's humanity. Get rid of the political. This is not about being a Democrat. This is not about being a Republican. This is good versus bad. This is right versus wrong. It's the golden rule. It's being human. It's having compassion. And speaking of compassion, something I didn't get to last week, I have a lot of compassion for the Key West Police Department. I have a lot of compassion for them. So much compassion I have for them, I don't want them brought into this. They deserve better. We deserve better. It's a horrible feeling not recognizing your country down right now. Don't make it a horrible feeling not recognizing the town you call home and the town that you love. Be good. Be brave. Stand up to bullies.
After Jeff is Angela and then Ricky Arnold.
Jeff Siegel, 727 Washington Street. I'm representing myself tonight. Last week at the meeting, I witnessed something that I think was one of the best things I've ever seen in local government. And I don't mean to make him feel uncomfortable about it, but Commissioner Lee came into that meeting and said, you know, I felt I was going to vote a certain way, and he mentioned heart multiple times, that his heart was swayed by this community. That is the basis of democracy. That works. And he switched his vote because of that. We found a commissioner who found his heart. And in all sincerity, I think it was the best thing I've ever seen. Similarly, and the mayor and I disagree on a variety of issues, but she demonstrated the ability to demonstrate courage last week. And I would get on the highest mountain and proclaim that. So we had a commissioner that found his heart. We had a member that found their courage in this Wizard of Oz moment. What we need to find this week is wisdom. And the wisdom that we need to realize is that you did not void the agreement last week, as was reported by the press in so many places, as was reported by the Attorney General. You did not void it as a verb. You found it void as an adjective, which means that it never existed. We're in the exact same spot as South Miami, and we really can't vote. If you vote to approve this first agenda item, you're going to create a lot of hate here because no one wants this. If you vote no on it because of the way it's worded, you're putting your own seats in jeopardy. We don't want you to do that either. What we want you to do is postpone this vote. Let's wait and use some wisdom, find out what happens with South Miami. So again, the thing to do is right before you vote, please, 3 times, click your heels together, say there's no place like home, and vote to postpone it. Thank you.
After Angela is Ricky, and then Lori Kelly.
Joining all the other folks who did this scared. So, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and staff. My name is Angela Hankins. I've served this community as an educator for over 20 years. In the classroom, I teach students to think critically, to listen respectfully, and to engage in dialogue, even when it's hard. Because that's how democracy works. That's how we solve problems. That's how we grow stronger as a community. What we're witnessing now in response to your decision to void participation, void adjective, participation in 287G is not democracy, it's bullying. And as an educator, I know bullying when I see it. The threats and intimidation coming from the governor and the attorney general are designed not to foster dialogue, but to silence it. They're attempting to punish this body for engaging in the very kind of public discourse that democracy demands. I want to thank you for your original decision. By voiding that agreement to participate in the 287G program was a lawful, value-driven choice that reflected a commitment to local control and public safety. I believe our neighbors and local business owners, the people who spoke last week, they highlighted how this program has contributed to racial profiling, unjust detentions, and a breakdown of the trust between immigrant communities and law enforcement. You stood up to the people who live and work here, and you did so within the full scope of your legal authority. But bullies don't care about law or nuance. They care about control. And right now, the pressure you're facing is not just about immigration policy. It is also about whether locally elected officials will be allowed to make decisions for their own communities without being threatened or silenced. If that precedent is set, the damage to democracy won't stop here. This commission has the support of the people of Key West and a dedicated team of pro bono legal advocates ready to defend your First Amendment rights and your authority under the law. You do not stand alone. Your constituents are asking you, please do not cede your authority as locally elected officials. And finally, in my work, we tell our students that healthy democracy relies on reasoned debate, not coercion, on courage, not fear. So I urge you to hold the line to show our young people and the entire state that in Key West, we believe in the democratic process, and we do not allow bullies to govern with fear. Please postpone this item and allow the courts. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your integrity.
Once again, if you're new to the channel, like and subscribe. If you're already subscribed, you know to do leave a like and a comment. We're going to continue watching.
And then Lola Cook.
Where's the timer?
It's on the lectern. Do you see the?
Oh, right there.
Yep.
Got it. Right, good.
Yep.
Ricky Arnold, 4 Bay Drive, Key West, Florida. I'm here to tell you, I come from here. I'm 5 generations. I've married a wife that has come from communism. I've watched her go through the citizenship process, become a U.S. citizen. I've watched her family come over in boats while I've been with her. I've watched her family come over the border. I've watched the one from boat have to get sent back. Not sure where her sister's going. The problem I think that Key West is facing as a whole is we have a lot of very, very good immigrants that have come here, even to America. As a whole, there's a lot of hardworking people. And I take nothing from them. They get up, they work hard every day, they take their kids to school every day, do everything they're supposed to do. My problem comes in is when I see New York and California, and I see these other blue states, that if we listen, and I'm not going to try not to be too much, there's a lot of people in this room that have come from other states. The reason they're coming here is because we have control of our island. The moment this island becomes a sanctuary state, we won't be having to have safe things. We are going to have to try and figure out how to protect the very people that are in here defending the good people that are here when the bad ones come. I'm saying sign it, back up the federal government, and let's figure out a way to fight and have the immigration corrected. But as for now, we need to protect home first, and then help with immigration law second. We come first. Thank you.
After Lori is Lola and then Julie Hill.
Hi, I'm Lori Kelly, and I'm here as a member of the Key West Immigrant Coalition and the Immigrant Support Network, and just because I love this island. And I gotta say, I am surprisingly in agreement with Mr. Arnold. I think he's right. We need to protect our island first and deal with immigration second. So I would like you to listen to my beginning statement, which is a quote from an auspicious sage who once said, "Slow down, this ain't the mainland." Last week, you took a stand to support our police chief by agreeing to submit the 287 agreement to your thorough review to ensure that the police officers can continue to keep our community safe without exposing them to extra costs or liability. When faced with an immediate threat from the state officials, I understand why the mayor called this meeting, and she acted quickly to bring this item to the commission, and we appreciate that you're allowing us to deliberate this together. We want you to protect us. But thankfully, your decision last week allows us to work at our island pace and avoid rushing this decision. You've given us strong legal backup for postponing item 1, while approving items 2, which give us the backup of kind of hiding behind South Miami to wait and see what the legislation and the judiciary decide. And then we can also agree on item 3, which is just simply to support the extension that is already on the books going through the courts for Haitian TPS. I would encourage you to just slow this down a bit for 2 reasons. We can avoid significant litigation costs. The administration has made the claim that ICE agents do not need to follow due process, but this claim has not been settled in court. And directing our Key West PD officers to participate in actions like that leaves us open to judgments like the 2018 Peter Brown case, when Monroe County paid out hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines for improperly detaining one person. So the people who litigated that case, Natalia Duke, the president of Keys Immigration, the ACLU, both of them have given you statements that give you a clear path to avoid this in the future. The second is that when you take the time to move at island pace, you allow us.
Sorry, thank you. So after Lola, we have Julie Hill and then Maggie Whitcomb.
Good evening. My name is Lola Cook, and today I'm speaking for myself as well as on behalf of my mother, Sarah Compton, a local business owner who couldn't be here tonight. We reside and are registered to vote at 1901 South Roosevelt Boulevard. I'm speaking today with urgency and heartbreak because I know why we're here, and I know what you think you have to do. A few days ago, this commission made a brave and morally sound decision. You voted to end a voluntary agreement that made our police department part of the fear-driven machinery of ICE. You did that knowing the Attorney General would come after you, and now here we are. I want to remind everyone in this room that what you did was not illegal. You are not violating the law. You are not declaring a sanctuary city. You simply chose not to voluntarily participate in a program that has led to people being taken from their jobs, off our streets, and disappearing. People who have done nothing wrong, many of whom are working through legal immigration channels. You did what Key West has always claimed to do. You protected your people. And because of that, you're being threatened with removal, with punishment, with political violence disguised as legal consequence. But let's call it what it is: intimidation. And if it works, If you back down now, then the message that you send to your community is this: when the state comes for you, we'll let them. And I get it. You're tired. You've been through hell with internal investigations, indictments, power struggles. Maybe you're wondering if you have anything left to fight with. But I'm here to tell you this is the fight worth having. If you're going to spend political capital, spend it on protecting the people who live and work in this community. If you're going to stand for something, let it be for dignity, not compliance. Let it be for humanity, not political safety. You gave this community something we haven't had in a long time: hope. And if you undo that vote now, you don't just undo a policy, you undo that hope. You prove to the state that a little pressure is all it takes to crack Key West. But if you stand firm, you send a different message: that we are not afraid of bullies, that we are not pawns, and that this commission will not be used to prop up an authoritarian governor's agenda of fear and division. Stand up only when it's easy, and it's not a stand at all. It's just survival. What you did last week was bold, it was rare, and it was good. Please don't undo it now. Don't trade courage for comfort. Be the leaders we had hoped you were. Be the Key West the state needs to see, and be the line that doesn't move. Thank you.
After Julie is Maggie, and then Bert Sis.
Hi, my name is Julie Hill. I'm a resident of Key West. I want to sincerely thank you for the decision you made on June 30th. We recognize the immense pressure you face and the serious threats directed at you. Your courage in that moment did not go unnoticed, and we are here to support you. We are urging you once again not to allow our police department to enter any partnership with ICE. We do not want our local law enforcement aligned with federal immigration enforcement. The choice you make now will define your leadership. If you give into the governor's pressure, you turn away from the very people who elected you and are pleading with you not to take this path. The nation is watching. This is a crucial moment for bold, principled leadership. We want you to be brave. I urge you to stand up and meet this moment with decisive legal action. We have the right to self-govern without fear of intimidation. And while the governor may be applying pressure, I ask you to remain steadfast. This is not just a local issue. It's part of a much larger pattern of overreach that communities across the country are facing. You have the opportunity to lead with strength, integrity, and courage. The decision you make today will have real economic consequences. People across the country and the world are already reconsidering travel to Florida due to harmful and dangerous policies. But you have the power to show them that we don't bow to unlawful threats, that we stand up for what's right. That's the Key West we want the world to see. I fully support for extending TPS for a Haitian community. It pains me deeply that we have to frame this conversation in terms of numbers to justify the protection of human lives. Still, if you must talk in terms of impact, the data is clear. In 2022, Haitian TPS holders and those eligible from the program contributed an estimated $22 billion in wages to the U.S. economy. They filled over 600,000 jobs, many of them in industries already struggling with labor shortages. In Key West, we simply cannot afford to lose this hardworking and vital workforce. But beyond the economic argument is something far more important, the human reality. Haiti still remains under U.S. travel advisory due to extreme and ongoing instability. Those returned to Haiti face not only economic collapse and a humanitarian crisis, but also widespread gang violence, including the terrifying threat of rape and persecution. Protecting Haitian TPS holders isn't just the right thing to do. Economically, it's the moral thing to do. Thank you.
Maggie, is Maggie here? Okay, we'll go. Yeah, okay, that's fine. And then Stacy Stahl.
I'm so proud of everybody in this room tonight. Good evening, commissioners and city staff. I want to thank you for providing the documents on the city's website regarding the 287G agreements. I've been doing some reading. I also want to thank you for listening to your constituents and voiding the agreement at our last meeting. However, I think you're wrong to reconsider, and here's why. What kind of state do we live in where a governor and his attorney general, who's in contempt of court, by the way, think they have the right to threaten us with facts that are not really that impressive if they're even true? Anyone who checks out the sheriff's office arrest log every day knows that we have citizens of our own that are doing the same thing. And we still live in one of the safest counties in the state. On top of that, they expect us to trust a man who continues to pass laws that strip people of their rights, and the courts have to remind him they are unconstitutional and shut them down. And he's a lawyer. We should have known what to expect from a former JAG officer at Gitmo who was somewhat loosey-goosey with the Geneva Convention. Is immigration policy broken? Yes. But that blame rests on the federal government who refuses to fix it and the donors who own them. Let's get real. So now we're being asked or coerced to help with a policy that is cruel, un-American, racist, and wrong-headed. At some point, the governed need to stand up and say no. They don't really need our help. They're building a massive ICE force or police state from the funding they got in their new budget. The hell with poor folks, veterans, the sick and disabled, much less the undocumented. They are bullies and cowards. Does it really take 8 armed, masked men and 3 police dogs to grab one woman off the street and separate her from her child? They don't really want our help. They want to subjugate us, make us used to living in fear. Are we brave enough to draw the line? I urge you to join the lawsuit with South Miami. We are not the only city in Florida who has said no. We must continue to say no. This might just give others the balls to do the same thing. We, the people, say no.
So after Maggie, we have Stacy and then Tyler Weberscher.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, City Commissioners, and staff. My name is Maggie Whitcomb. I live and own a business in District 1. 3 weeks ago, through a simple internet search that anyone could have done, I discovered the agreements that Sheriff Ramsey and Chief Brandenburg signed to partner with ICE. It was me. I promptly forwarded those documents to Lucy Hawk, who shared them with Commissioner Kaufman. Shockingly, neither he nor the mayor was aware of these agreements. Simultaneously, community advocates had already begun to organize. Good people with limited time and resources sprang into action. We started sharing information, and it became clear that at least some ICE activity on our island was in direct violation of the civil rights standards written within 287 itself. They were violating their own policies by taking people who have legal authority to be here. Reports of serious misconduct and violations were coming out, and they still come out. A week ago yesterday, I walked into this room, thankful to be sitting on this side of the dais and not yours. But by the end of that meeting, I was envious of you. What a unique place in time, a pivotal moment in our history we find ourselves. Opportunities of this importance are rare, and the people who take them make history. Like most of you last week, I listened intently to every speaker like you're doing tonight. I was particularly impressed by the genuine compassion on most of your faces about the speakers and their concerns. I was equally impressed with not just what our community members said, but how they spoke. Sensibly, calmly, and respectfully. You have been given more than enough justification to opt out of a partnership with ICE at this time. Legal, moral, ethical. Your actions on June 30th reinforced my faith in this extraordinary island. Without due process and the defense of basic human rights, feral chickens are safer in Key West than human beings born outside our country. There is no crisis of conscience here, no crisis of identity. The world knows who Key West is. This is a crisis of courage.
Thank you. After Stacy is Tyler, and then Teresa Shishi. I might mispronounce that, excuse me. Go ahead.
Turn your mic on, please. Thank you. There it is. Sorry about that. Thought it was still on. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I am Stacy Stahl, and I am a full-time resident in District 4. I'm speaking tonight as a citizen of Key West who's proud to live in a place that values fairness, process, and standing up to pressure, even if it's uncomfortable. Let's not lose sight of what happened here on June 30th. This commission did the right thing by voiding the 287G agreement that was signed without the authority required. That vote was a correction of a process that was ignored. It was about upholding the law and protecting the city from legal exposure. But now, under political pressure from Tallahassee, we're being pushed to reverse that decision. And I'm here to say, don't do it. You don't owe the Attorney General or the Governor blind obedience. You do owe this community sound judgment and legal clarity. If you vote to either approve or reject this resolution tonight, you risk giving them exactly what they want: ammunition to claim that Key West is violating Florida statutes. Even if that's not your intent, they will twist your vote and say it is. And as you've already heard, if this resolution goes on the record with the language that's currently in it conceding their claim that we're a so-called sanctuary city, that language will haunt us in court filings, in media coverage, and in political arenas. We shouldn't fall into that trap. We don't need to hand our city over to Tallahassee spin machines. What we need is to do what South Miami is doing: seek a judgment from the courts. Let them decide what Chapter 908 actually requires. That's not defiance, it's due process. I've also watched this spin into a partisan issue. That kind of politics may play in state capitals or on the news, but it doesn't serve the people of Key West. And right now, this commission needs to focus on what's right for all our constituents and not on scoring any more political points. The city's never been a sanctuary city. Our police follow the law. They cooperate with federal agencies when legally required, and that hasn't changed. What has changed is that we're being bullied, and this commission has the power and the responsibility to say, not here, not in Key West, not when the stakes are this high. I urge you to table this resolution. Don't play into their narrative. Don't hand them the headline. Let the courts decide what the law actually says, not the Tallahassee politicians with an agenda. And your constituents will stand with you. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
So after Tyler is Teresa, and then Gilda Niles.
Good evening. My name is Tyler Ubashir. I live in District 4. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I'm speaking as a private citizen. I'm asking the city to postpone Resolution 1 and seek declaratory judgment regarding our city's obligation to enter into a 287G agreement. In 1803, the Supreme Court declared that it is emphatically the province and the duty of the Judicial Department to say what the law is. On the anniversary of our independence, our Attorney General, James Othmeyer, seeks to usurp the role from our courts and bend reality to his political conveniences. His royal
Y'all like and subscribe, leave a comment. We're watching the Key West Town Hall meeting on the ICE agreement. We'll keep streaming.
Agreement as void. This has no basis in law. The City Commission is responsible for making policy, not the Chief of Police. The previous 287G agreement was never enforceable. The alternative is to allow the Chief of Police to enter agreements that he has no authority to make because we are afraid of being labeled a sanctuary city. Sanctuary policy is defined in 908.103 as a policy that prohibits or impedes immigration law enforcement or prohibits cooperation. Key West Police Department has supported ICE and Border Patrol before 287G and will continue to do so. This is not the same as affirmatively deputizing officers to enforce immigration law. In fact, the Florida legislature has expressly rejected SB 14A and HB 11A, which would have required municipalities to adopt 287G. Further evidence that this is a voluntary agreement, not a sanctuary city policy. The courts have the duty to say what the law is. Declaratory judgment clarifies the legal rights and obligations of the parties in dispute. Let a judge decide who is right. The Trump administration has declared war against TPS holders, VAWA petitioners, asylum seekers, and undocumented immigrants. Affirmatively joining their efforts will not remove the target that's been placed on Key West. The President of the United States has made his racism and hatred against Haitian people abundantly clear. Deputizing local law enforcement will only bring more chaos and heartbreak to our community. There is no reward for cowardice. Appeasement will not save our community. Solidarity will. Please be brave again and stand up for what is right. Thank you.
So after Teresa and Gilda, we'll have Monica Caceres.
Hi, I'm Teresa Kiecki, and I've had the privilege to call myself a Key West local for 6 years, and there are many aspects of Key West culture that make me proud to be a part of this community. From our inclusivity, the way we stand up for marginalized communities, and taking care of each other in times of hardships. And nothing made me prouder to be a part of this one human family than on June 30th with the decision made to void the 287G agreement. To me, this was a prime example of what it means to be a Key Wester, going against the grain to stand up for what is right. A lot of people my age feel abandoned by our government. Many of my peers don't vote because they feel their voices don't matter. But June 30th was a testament to the fact that our voices do hold power. My community came out, voiced our concerns, and you listened. I thank you for that. And I thank you for the tremendous bravery demonstrated by the city to stand up for and represent the voices of their constituents. And I beg you to show that same bravery again, because our resistance against falling in line with fascism and xenophobia will only grow more and more crucial. All eyes are on Key West now. History is watching. No one is saying to let violent criminals loose in Key West. What I'm saying is that it is ridiculous to target an entire population of people, labeling them all as potential criminals. The vast majority of those detained this year are not violent criminals, and more than half of them have no criminal record at all. If our government is really targeting those who are a drain on our resources, not contributing to society, then why are we going after them at their places of work? If we are after people not following the law, why are we detaining those in the legal process of seeking asylum or becoming a citizen? If we are truly targeting the worst of the worst, why are we going after children? I'm not asking you to enable criminals. I'm not asking you to break the law, but I am asking you to continue to represent our voices and to protect those in our community most in need. Thank you.
Gilda, Monica, and then Marlene.
Can somebody
Kolacek.
lend me one of your brave shirts?
Commissioners, Madam Mayor, members of the audience. I came from Cuba in 1967 as a Cuban refugee. So the subject of immigration and immigrants is very close to me, and I've been involved every 10 years in one form of immigration or another. I actually very impressed by all the people talking and very appreciative of so much compassion. However, I really strongly feel that this whole issue here today, besides immigration, is political. It's obvious by everybody speaking that they hate President Trump and that they hate Ron DeSantis. That is the issue. Bill Clinton deported people. George Bush deported people. Barack Obama was called the deporter-in-chief. And I never, ever heard of such gatherings against it. So I appreciate it, but I don't think they understand. They don't go to Hialeah. They don't go to Winn-Dixie. These are really good people with really good intentions, but I don't think any of them have lived the immigrant and the immigration issue. And I don't know what else to say except you guys know what's right. You guys know the law. I'm just a citizen. I'm an immigrant. Today, I'm an American citizen. For years, I have followed every law. That's what I was taught when I came from Cuba. There was 4 things I had to do. I had to learn English. I had to get my immigration. I had to vote, and I had to pay taxes. And that's how you become a good American. Today, I'm a good American. And as an American, I'm here to protect my children and my grandchildren. And unfortunately, for the past 4 years, there's been a lot of people coming through America that we didn't know who they were. And today, yes, there's a lot of good people paying the consequences. But they made that decision in their home country when they decided to come here illegally. And President Trump ran on that issue, and he won on that issue. And you can't evade that. You may not like it, and I'm sorry you all don't like it, but as an immigrant and as an American citizen, I am here to stand with the police and with ICE. And I hope you vote the right way.
Thank you. So after Monica is Marlene, and then Nick Dahl, it looks like.
Sorry, short people problems over here. Good evening, all, and thank you for having me. My name is Monica, and I've been in Key West since I was a year old. I actually attended Glen Archer Elementary School within these very walls. I received school awards right on the very stage you are sitting on. I am a mother of two boys, one who is a type 1 diabetic. I'm a daughter of immigrants of Mexico. First off, I want to thank you for your courage on June 30th. We support and have your back. Tonight, I come to give you grace. You're standing at a threshold. The nation is watching. Fear is thick in the air. People have spoken with fire, with reason, with urgency, and all of it matters. But for my time, I want to offer something that might matter even more: stillness. Right now, before you vote, I want to give you a moment to sit in your own thoughts, to not just think like a commissioner, but feel like a human. I bring God into this, not to judge, but to remind us that these decisions echo, and to remind you that God also has your back and supports you. This vote carries real weight for children, for our neighbors, for the future of the island we call home, and yes, for your own soul. So pause to sit with God, to ask what is right. As for me, I've been through hell and back, and I'm still standing because of my faith. So I say, in the words of the singer-songwriter Rod Wave, I'm not scared of werewolves, vampires, but man, I'd always lose sleep when I could set my people free. And neither should you be scared. So be brave again tonight. Be brave and choose love when power would be easier. If this is the only moment I'm ever given in a room like this, let it be known I used it to invite God in. And also, if you happen to attend St. Mary's Star of the Sea, here is some fun facts for you. When you're sitting in that church, you're sitting in a sacred space that doesn't just pray for protection from hurricanes, but also prays for protection over migrants crossing oceans, children fleeing violence, and families searching for safety. So with all of that being said, God bless Key West. God bless America, the greatest country of all time. Be a part of this next chapter in love, injustice, and courage to one human future. The grace of the Lord be with God's people. Amen. Please sit in silence with me for 32 seconds. Thank you all. Have a great night.
So we have Marlene, Nick, and then Joanna Ondrasek.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Marlene Collegy. I am a full-time resident of District 4. Nice thing about going so late in the evening is I can cut off half of my my speech here, so it won't be too long. But you know, as we had so many eloquent speakers tonight, telling us why we should postpone the 287G agreement and let the courts decide our next steps, that not entering into this agreement absolves all of us of the potential liability and the fiscal responsibility should an issue occur while engaged, our police department is engaged in supporting ICE activities. So we all know on June 30th, Commissioner Carey was the lone dissenting vote when all of you supported to void the 287G agreement. And I want to remind all of us that our district consists of members from all walks of life, and that voting to appease the Tallahassee conservatives is a disservice to everyone in our districts because we are on all sides of the spectrum here. Ronald Reagan is a conservative, and he addressed immigration extensively during his presidency, and through the Immigration and Reform Control Act, worked to create a balance by welcoming immigrants, all while maintaining control over our borders, and the importance, and I quote, of a reasonable, fair, orderly, and secure system of immigration. The IRCA also granted amnesty and legal status to millions of immigrants who entered the U.S. prior to January 1st of 1982. In his City on the Hill farewell speech from January of '89, he said that America was a beacon, still a magnet for all who must have freedom. He believed in that immigration was noble, that America was a nation of immigrants, transformative and a shining light for all nations. All that being said, there's been a massive shift in the arrests made between Customs and Border Patrol and ICE. Prior to January of '25, most immigrant arrests were by CPB at the borders, but now most arrests are by ICE inside the U.S., in our own house. In January of '25, 62% of immigrant arrests were criminals, but last month, only 36% of immigrant arrests were classified as criminals. ICE also assigns levels to their arrests, with level 1 being the most severe, and according to data published by ICE themselves, as of last month, only 7% of arrests were level 1. The remaining 83% of all arrests were classified by ICE themselves as no threat level. None of this is a conservative or a liberal issue, it's a human issue. The bulk of the ICE arrests today are for non-criminals. These non-criminal arrests continue to harm the good people of our community and the immigrants in which our country was founded, most of whom believe that the U.S. remains, as Reagan said, a beacon, still a magnet for all who must have freedom. You are volunteering our police department to co-sign all that's wrong with how ICE is treating our law-abiding immigrant community and placing our city in fiscal danger. Be brave. Do not support signing the voluntary 287 agreement. Thank you.
Is Nick here? Then we'll move to Joanna. Okay. Joanna and then Michael Berman, followed by Robert Cintron.
Hello. My name is Joanna Andrusek, and I've lived here full-time for the past 5 years, but my family's called the Keys home since I was 14. Last week, this community's cries did not fall on deaf ears. Dear commissioners, you brought a smile to all our faces with your nearly unanimous vote to void 287G. Speaking with those who attended the meeting that day, I could see that this decision brought hope to people who have been feeling that democracy in America, frankly, was dying. If you go back on last week's decision, you will be crushing that hope. Every day, we wake up to news of masked ICE troops rolling up to neighborhood parks in LA in armored vehicles and full tactical gear, spreading fear in the hearts of this nation. To new merchandise promoting the conversion of our conservation lands in the Everglades into alligator Alcatraz. To our friends still trapped in detention centers where they are starved and mistreated with no end in sight. How can we ask our local police, many of whom grew up here, to be a part of this? We cannot let them be used as a weapon of an authoritarian regime hell-bent on imposing their twisted vision of a whitewashed America. I urge you to continue to hold your ground on recognizing 287G as void and to join the city of South Miami in its case against the state's imposition on what is a voluntary agreement. Please stand with the people who make this community vibrant and resilient. Help continue the great tradition of Key West as the seat of the southernmost resistance. As it was during the Civil War or the 1982 roadblock that gave this place its name as the Conch Republic. I want to leave you all with a poem. It's an oldie but a goodie by the German Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller, written in 1946 after World War II. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. Please, let us not repeat that mistake. Speak out for your community. Thank you.
So after Michael is Robert, and then Braley Prescott Aruda.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and the Commission. I'm Michael Berman. I'm a member of this community for over 40 years. I'm going to keep my remarks brief because most of what I wanted to say has been said more eloquently than I could possibly put it. 287G is a voluntary commitment. We are not under constitutional imperatives to do the job of the federal government. We have just had the opinions tonight of several attorneys, including experts in immigration law and the ACLU of Florida, that entering into 287G agreement is not only voluntary, but is in fact in contradiction to the laws of the state of Florida. There is an active, ongoing lawsuit by the city of South Miami, joined by multiple legal and other organizations against the governor and the Attorney General of Florida. Why not join this lawsuit in order to stand up for the rule of law, not for the politicians in Tallahassee? Along with Commissioner Kaufman, I asked the Commission to postpone any decision tonight on 287G and to seek legal advice. I support the Key West Police in their mission to maintain peace and safety in our city, not to do the dirty work of ICE agents who work in disguise because they know they are committing evil. I only ask that you, Madam Mayor, and you commissioners fulfill the expressed will of the overwhelming majority of your constituents. Thank you.
Yeah, you can use that. After Robert and Braley, it'll be Caitlin Fuller.
Thank you very much, Robert Cintron. I'm here in a different role tonight than the last time I was here, and that's to speak on behalf of our two ministers at the church that I attend, Peace Covenant Presbyterian. They couldn't be here because of medical issues that they're dealing with. The good news is they had 2 pages they wanted me to read. I'm only going to read 1 paragraph because I think it's most appropriate. And I'm going to read it verbatim. As the co-pastors of Peace Covenant Presbyterian Church in Key West, rest assured that the good people of Peace Covenant Presbyterian Church are praying for you to remain steadfast and not sway from what is just and right. We are so very proud of your vote on June 30th, and we stand with you in that position. We covenant not to abandon you and your position to stand the test. Indeed, we believe God will give you the endurance and courage to stand the test, the same endurance and courage that Jesus used to stand the test for us. So that summarizes the position of our two pastors who are newly here in Key West from Colorado, and they are so impressed with what this city commission did just a few weeks ago that they felt the need to speak out. And in closing, I made a comment after the meeting last week, and the comment was the little mouse that roared. And that's what this commission did. This little town stood up to the bullies in Tallahassee and did what was right in your minds. And I just beseech you to stand the test and do what you know is right. And I want to thank all of the people that are speaking, because I've never in my life seen such eloquence and civility in a meeting such as this. And I thank all of you all for taking the patience to listen to us. Have a good evening.
After Braley, it's Caitlin, and then Max Bozzetti.
Hey, how are ya? Madam Enriquez, what up? This is for real formal here. My name is Braley Prescott-Aruda. I've been a resident of Key West for 10 years now. Time has flown by. I am originally from Massachusetts, which means I was raised with one of the best educations that you can get in the United States. That didn't mean that I wasn't a part of systems that made it hard to come up. I never thought that I would be able to go to college. I never thought I'd be a person that owned an expensive car or hold an American Express or even leave the United States and travel. That was never something that I thought would be afforded to me. But here I am. I have graduated college. I hold an American Express. I drive a car that old dudes ask me, "Did Daddy buy that for you?" I'm mommy. I bought it for me. I have traveled over 40 countries now. I jump out of planes, I ride a kite, and I've ridden across countries by myself on a motorcycle I couldn't even pick up. And yet I'm here and my heart is racing, as I'm sure yours is too. This country is one that I am really proud of. Reading textbooks growing up, I was always like, I would be her in that situation. Dee Dee, I voted for you because I wanted to be you in this situation, have the ability to make the right choice. Last week I was at work, I had to make money because I got to make rent, because I don't just take care of me, I take care of my mom too. So I'm here this week. I saw you a couple days ago. You dined at my joint. And honestly, I hope that you do the right thing here tonight. It scares me that this is the person sitting to your right, because I know that she doesn't stand for what I stand for, but I have the hope that you do. We traveled to Cuba together on a UNESCO World Conference together. I know you know what is right. I know that you were put into office because there are people here just like you that have families for generations after generations that have worked their asses off to get where we are today. To have something that our grandparents and their parents before them thought that they would never have. And now we have that opportunity. And as for our police, we love you guys. I serve you breakfast too. I love the guys on the horses, the hotties on the horses. We love them. We don't want to look at you guys differently. We want to be on your side. We want you to be on our side. 287G does not reflect that. It reflects fascism, unfortunately, and you don't have to succumb to that. You have power that is speakable, so do it. Speak for us.
So we have Caitlin, Max, and then Rob Plummer.
Hello, and thank you for being here today. My name is Kate. When I first moved to Key West, or when I first came to Key West 19 years ago, I was a teenager, and I came from a small town with one red light, 35 kids in my graduating class, and little to no diversity. The only people in my community back home who did not look like me were migrant workers who kept our farms in our extremely rural area running. And as I grew older, I realized how important they were to our community, not only on a personal level, because over the years they became close friends and even like family, but on a level of the highest importance. Without them, we didn't have the manpower or the man willing to do the work that they were doing, day in and day out, happily. And more importantly, they were safe, welcomed, and loved by our community, and respected as human beings. I remember coming to Key West for the first time and meeting so many different people from all over the world, and I don't know how to describe it because if you know, you know, but I knew that if I was lucky enough, one day I could call this place my home. The One Human Family motto wasn't even something I had known about back then, but it is something that I truly felt on a deep level. Now I have been a permanent resident here for 4 years. In those short but beautiful 4 years that I have spent here, everything that I felt and experienced back then all started to make complete sense. The community that welcomed me, the friends that became family, the coworkers that became a part of my everyday life from all walks of life, from all over the world. It embodied that feeling that I had as a young woman, experiencing the diversity and magic of this island. When our political climate started to change, I remember flying back to the mainland here and there, and every single time I did that, I remember feeling like I could not wait to come back home here to Key West, because no matter what was going on up there, I knew that Key West was organically protected because of the One Human Family motto that we truly live by. And now, here we are, making national news, which, by the way, means it's working, fighting a fight, begging for human rights for our neighbors, for friends, and families. When the 287G agreement was signed upon by our police department, it was done so without clear knowledge of what was legal or not. And to be frank, what even is legal versus not anymore, when our own federal government isn't even abiding by the laws by not allowing due process and changing laws to better fit their agenda so that they can legally enforce their narrative? How are we supposed to even know what is real and what isn't? Which is why I don't condemn our law enforcement agencies for agreeing to that. Clearly, we all love and support and, more importantly, trust our police department, and I would love to keep it that way. But that is why our government is equipped with a system of checks and balances to ensure that even opposing political parties are not overreaching, to ensure that all of our voices are heard. And that is what we saw last Monday when you as our commissioners voted to end this agreement. That is a democracy, and that is working for your constituents.
Thank you. Thank you. Max? Is there Max here? Then we'll move to Rob Plummer, Keenan Morrison, and then Aaron Strebeck. Aaron's not here. Keenan? You're going to pass Rob Plummer? Carter Nasser? Joey Phillips. I saw him. There he is. Okay.
My name is Joey Phillips. I'm here representing myself today. Good evening, Madam Mayor, commissioners, staff, people of Key West. Good to see you. Wow, holy cow. I'm filled with a little regret that I called off of work early. Sorry, coworkers. Thanks for covering. I totally could have waited because of how many people came to speak. I haven't lived on the island for very long, but I fell in love with Key West really fast. And I think, I know the reason I fell in love with it so quickly is because of its community. It's what the community does for Key West that I think what makes it truly special and worth living. So I play a small role in trying to preserve and play my part in doing that. And I can say in the short time that I've been here, I've never felt more proud to be a Key West citizen than on June 30th when we stood up to fascism. I mean, that's how I see it. You know, people smarter than me can label it what they will. But when Key West, I feel like, truly stood up for the motto that it totes, defending one human family, was the first time I felt like I lived in a city that put its money where its mouth was. And it was really awesome. And now less than a week later, here we are, I feel, jumping the gun, you know, I don't know for what reason. I think a lot of people smarter than me have shown us avenues as to how we can, you know, postpone it or not enter to the agreement. But I did want to take a second to try to do away with this false narrative that the urgency that ICE is, you know, needs to be in our community, why we need to cooperate with them so thoroughly is because there's a threat, you know, to people's public safety. There are violent illegal immigrants here. That is utterly false. The only immigrants that I know are my neighbors, are my coworkers, are our mothers, our daughters, our fathers, our sisters, our brothers, and they're kidnapping those people who are here legally. And sorry, I'm a little moved. I just think it's crazy. I feel like the Key West community is truly under attack, and I feel really proud that the city stood up for its community and has done its part to try to protect, you know, its community, its people, the people, you know, its lifeblood, everyone who lives here. So thank you for listening to us today. Thank you for being brave on June 30th. And I hope that you will do what I think is not a radical action at all. We're simply asking for you to postpone the item and to let us see how it'll play out in the courts. It's not a radical action. It's not crazy. It's not a declaration of war. We're just playing it safe. You're listening to the community. You're listening to Key West by doing this. And yeah, thank you for your time. Yeah.
Daniela Valdez, and then Genevieve Sapa.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commission. I did not write anything for this because I didn't think I was going to speak today. But as somebody that was born and raised in Key West, I felt like I needed to. There is a lot of unjust things going on in our country right now. And like Mr. Arnold did state earlier, we do have to keep Key West first. And I agree wholeheartedly on that. I was born and raised here. I've been here 22 years of my life. I love this town. I love these people, my coworkers, my classmates, everybody. Just coming here for a better life. And people are being kidnapped. We don't know where they are. They're not here. We don't know anything that's happening with certain people that have been out there for months. And that's not okay. And you guys did a very, very brave thing last week. I couldn't be here, I was working. But you did a very, very brave thing, and they are listening. Everybody's listening right now. And we need to continue being brave. That's it. It's point blank period, that's it. We have to. For our community, for our economy, because that's very important to us, we have to be brave. Thank you.
Genevieve? Is Genevieve still here? Okay, Carter Nasser.
I have never been in front of anybody to publicly speak or anything like that. Sorry if I'm a little bit nervous or shaky. But to start off, my name is Carter Nasser, and wherever the camera is, hello world. I got 3 minutes to say something that's really important. Key West is unfortunately not a sanctuary anymore. We used to take care of the people who came here and who would go on a life-threatening mission across the ocean. And this was a place of opportunity for them. There's coworkers, there's family members, there's people who are trying to support a family. I'm trying not to come at this with an emotional standpoint, and instead I want to come through factual standpoints. About 93% of all people who have been picked up by ICE so far, they have not been convicted of a felony. The people who put out a post publicly to the Key West public, they decided to nitpick and literally find the needle in the haystack of people who committed crimes that are not worth saying publicly, because unfortunately to pick the sharpest tool in this battle, it's not fair. Because with the vast amount of them being safe, supporting each other, trying to help each other, being a safe citizen in Key West, I think it's our job to protect those people. And unfortunately for you guys, you have the power to do that. You have the voice. I have 3 minutes. And I appreciate the effort you guys have taken. And it is bravery, as cliche as it sounds. Just stand up for yourself. That's the hardest thing to do. And stand up for the people who stand behind you, that's even harder. Because to find the courage to defend people, that takes a lot of work. And you guys have done the work and got to the position where you guys are. And I thank you for all that you've done. I thank you for giving me these minutes. And I want to try, I know this sounds way too far-fetched, but it's already too late. This has already happened. People have been picked up, people have been getting deported, and I think that to find a solution, that's where it is. To find a solution, to find an in-between, to say, hey, we can figure out what to do from here if we take care of what's already happened. Addressing what's happened in the past and coming to an agreement can help shape the future, a fair future, something where everybody can live in and where everybody can just, saying live in peace is way too far, but we're all humans, and I think that to be treated this way because of where you came from, I don't think that's fair. I think we should be protecting the people who have risked their lives to get to this point.
Thank you. That's it.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd just like to say thank everyone here for coming and participating and having a voice. So would you like to read the resolution one more time, and then we'll ask for a motion?
Just the title?
Authorizing?
Yes, authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into the 287G voluntary memorandum of agreement with United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Lee, and then Commissioner Haskell.
For over 25 years, I served this community as a police officer, 10 of them as the chief of police. During that time, there were laws that weren't clear or needed interpretation. We often sought Attorney General opinions to help us guide us on enforcement actions. While not binding on the courts, they are highly persuasive and often followed. The current Attorney General has opined that Florida Statute 908 requires municipal police departments to enter into 287G agreements, or they are deemed sanctuary cities. Further, the governor and most recently the Speaker of the House have stated that the intent of Florida Statute 908 was that municipal police departments are mandated to enter into the agreements. During my tenure as a police officer, there were times that I didn't agree with the law but had to enforce it. This appears to be one of them today. I hope that the pending declaratory relief action filed by the City of Miami soon provides answers to municipalities' legal requirements on this issue. Until that time, I believe we must follow the law and require the Key West Police Department to enter into the 287G agreement. So tonight, I will vote with my head and not my heart. So, Madam Mayor, I move to approve the resolution with the following friendly amendments. In the header, I would ask to strike the word voluntary. In the third whereas section, after whereas on June 30th, 2025, Key West City Commission voted to void the existing 287G agreement, I would suggest striking the rest and including after agreement that had been improperly executed without the legal authority required under the city charter. And in the last whereas section, I would suggest striking, reinstating, and adding entering into. Those are my amendments.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Castillo. Any discussion? I believe Commissioner Haskell would like to speak.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I move to postpone voting on this resolution. And I believe a motion to postpone takes precedence over a regular motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to postpone. Do I have a second? Commissioner Hoover?
Your mic.
Turn your mic on, please.
I would suggest that we move to table under Robert's rules.
Do I have a motion to postpone? Go
the
ahead.
word
We actually want to use, Commissioner Hoover, is postponed. Table would be for the same session. So we want to use you want to clarify and say postpone to another meeting?
I'm sorry.
It's me talking. It's
Carrie.
Carrie. The correct word, if we're going to postpone it to another meeting, is postpone. Table would be to table it to later in the session.
And Madam Mayor, may I clarify?
Yes, ma'am.
So as a maker of the motion, I would like to clarify that I would like to postpone voting on this resolution until we obtain some legal clarity based on the outcome of the South Miami case.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Madam Mayor, I would like to comment on that. I think what I learned over the course of the week that we've had, aside from that, that this is a really emotional subject, is that right now we don't know what we don't know. We have not learned all of the aspects of the law that pertain to this because we haven't really had any access to someone who is an expert in immigration law. And that's something I think as a commission we owe ourselves in order to make this kind of a decision.
So is that a second motion to Commissioner Haskell?
I think I said that already.
Well, you just wanted to clarify. Okay, so we have a first and a second. Any discussion? Can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carey?
No.
Commissioner Castillo?
No.
Commissioner Haskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoover?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
No.
Mayor Enriquez?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, so now we have a motion and a second on the floor. A motion by Commissioner Lee, second by Commissioner Castillo, but we have amendments.
Which you can incorporate all if every...
Do we have?
Madam Mayor, if I may?
Yes, go ahead.
I would just like to make the comment that it appears in this room that we are one human family unless we have a difference of opinions. And that doesn't seem one
Okay,
bit
so we have
appropriate.
a motion. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion?
Can I get clarity on
Madam
the
Mayor?
amendments,
Yes.
please?
Madam Mayor?
Can you give us clarity, Commissioner Lee, please?
try.
Thank you.
Okay, so in the header, the word voluntary, strike it. In the third whereas, it says, whereas on June 30th, 2025, the Key West City Commission voted to void the existing 287G agreement, comma, strike everything there. And then, and add to the end, and then insert that had been improperly executed without the legal authority required under the city charter. That had been improperly executed without the legal authority required under the city charter. And in the last whereas section, striking the word reinstating and adding entering into.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Carey?
Okay, I just need some clarity. I have some questions for Mrs. Harden. Since we have these amendments that we're discussing also, was this resolution, in fact, I know Commissioner Lee is proposing that had been improperly executed without the legal authority that is in the city charter, but I need some clarity as to, first of all, we have said that the chief enters into MOUs often. Is that correct?
So that's different in other agreements and what the statutes, there's specific statutes for certain MOUs and different agreements for law enforcement and those duties. But again, specifically, I don't know the statute off the top of my head. It does say to be signed by the executive of that enforcement agency. I would read that as being the city manager, though, as well.
Okay, so that I understand, the chief of police does enter into MOUs. Maybe not regularly, but that has occurred. Yes, does sign MOUs.
I can't speak to previously. One has not come in front of me since I've been in this position. If it were, I would suggest with the authority in our charter and in in resolutions, there hasn't been delegated authority specifically for that.
Can we ask the chief of police?
Yes.
Okay. Not to put you on the spot, chief.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner Castillo?
finished?
No. I'd like to get an answer on that first, if that's okay with you, Mr. City Manager, or.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner, it's absolutely okay that you get the answers you need.
That's it?
Commissioner, as Commissioner Lee stated at our last meeting, and I also stated at our last meeting, with the city manager's approval, there are MOUs and MOAs that I do sign. Some of them, we add a line for the city manager and I both to sign, but most of them want the chief law enforcement officer, the top police officer, to sign them. That's me.
Understood. And so if that is a common practice and does take place here at the city and has happened in the past, why was that agreement not proper?
I would, I don't want to speak to the other agreements, but I would ultimately say without seeing them, they could be unenforceable as well, ultimately. That would, again, depend on the nature of it. But if he were to sign individually without the delegated authority or authority under our charter, then those would be invalid contracts as well.
Does the city manager have the authority, and may he delegate that authority to the chief of police to sign a document?
I think the delegation would need to come for the commission in a resolution that says they have that specific authority to sign. The charter is specific to the city manager. It doesn't state in there that his power is to delegate that specifically. There are delegations as to the chief of police and to the chief of the fire department, but that's specifically to the assignments of the duties of their officers. So it's not specific as to what they have the authority to sign.
Is it specific to the city manager? I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Is it specific to the city manager not being able to delegate to the chief of police the authority to sign an agreement such as this one?
It doesn't give any authority. It's silent, ultimately.
And then I think my final question was, or maybe not the final question, but for this round, would we have been able to retroactively approve that at the last meeting?
Yes, you could have ratified.
We could have ratified the agreement at the last meeting and stated, just for clarity, that.
So ultimately, by you ratifying, if you were to ratify that contract, you would have been saying that he had the authority to sign it. You would be giving him the authority once you ratified it at that time.
Okay, I think I'm good.
All right, Commissioner Castillo.
Kendall, Chief, I know I've seen you. I mainly supported this here because not only talking to the sheriff, they haven't made any ICE raids or anything that I know of that I've been to the fact that it's going to change the character of our police department. We know Chief, we know his guys. We know our sheriff, and we know the pretty much the officers. However, I was so moved, like we were being racially profiled, and that's not so. I spoke to the chief, I spoke to the sheriff, and again, I think we come from a tight-knit community, and we needed to put this to bed. I mean, just keep going over and over. We have to comply with the law anyway. Am I correct? In assisting our other ICE, Immigration, Customs, Border Patrol.
Yes, so ultimately, Chapter 908.
And I believe they would do that, you know, in a case that's needed. But if we kept this going, this is going to be a case of never ending. And I feel really and truly it's gotten really out of hand to the point where Chief Brandenburg looked like he lost about 10 pounds. Excuse me? Well, anyway, I'm sorry, Chief, it took this long to get this pressure off you, but.
All right, Commissioner Hoover, you had a comment?
When we
she'll
were
be
talking about the memorandum of understanding, I don't think that this commission can afford to not have some say-so and oversight of something that is a philosophy like this. It's one thing to talk about buying a truck because we have some arrangement with one of the other, entities, whether it's a state or county or whatever. But this is way too important to just say we always do it that way. It's memorandum of understanding. It's not. This is something that was obviously at the heart of our city, and people had to say so, and we had to listen to that before. We can't let somebody make a decision like this without us knowing about it, is what I was trying to say.
Commissioner Haskell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We did not believe that we were breaking the law on June 30th when we passed that resolution. And we are not breaking the law now if we let that resolution stand. Many well-informed citizens and excellent lawyers agree that Key West has no legal obligation to enter into a 287G agreement. Unlike a sheriff who has to enter into it, a municipal police chief does not enter into it. There is no requirement in federal law to sign such an agreement. There's no requirement in state law for a municipality to sign such an agreement. Congress, the US Congress and the state legislature have both declined to create such a requirement. They've had the opportunity to create such a requirement and they have declined to do so. Neither the governor nor the state attorney can override the legislature and enact such a requirement on their own. So the opinion that the Attorney General offered in his letter, Commissioner Lee, that was not a formal legal opinion, as you might request from the Attorney General. That was a statement he made in a letter, which was, you know, his interpretation at the time. But it does not follow state law or federal law. So if I'm convincing anyone who voted on the winning side of the previous motion and to not postpone, you would have the opportunity right now to ask that that motion be reconsidered. Because if we follow the lead of the city of South Miami, there's no harm done. We're not doing anything extra, anything different. As I said, we did not believe we were breaking the law. Then if we pass this current resolution, we're kind of rolling over and playing dead and said, yes, I guess we did break the law, but we did not. And we should stand for what is true and what is just and postpone this motion and we get some more legal clarity.
Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Lee.
So, Commissioner Haskell, if you listen carefully to what I said that the Attorney General's opinion is not binding. It's highly persuasive. And
Okay,
good. And it's what we often use to take enforcement actions. That's what I said.
Any other discussion?
I have
Commissioner
a question
Terry?
for the clerk. If I would like to make a motion to pass the resolution as is, we would have to take the vote on this first. Is that correct, or?
Well, we can break out the amendments I mean, he's made a motion with 3 amendments. So we can either break them out or you can vote on this and then.
I would prefer.
Because the motion to amend is higher than the main motion. So he's essentially amended.
So we would take each of the amendments separately
can
and then
do that.
vote on the resolution, and
As
whatever
amended.
amendments had passed would then be
Correct.
attached to the resolution?
Correct.
I would like to, that way, if that's okay. I would like to take the amendments separately.
Okay.
Okay.
So the first one would be, we don't need a first and second for this because we've already established those, to strike voluntary from the.
Madam, we're going through the amendments now?
Yes.
Because I needed to ask the chief one final question on the discussion and the city attorney.
Is this based on the amendments?
It's based on the whole 287, period. Staff recommend this? I guess is what I'm asking you as the attorney.
I could give advice on, I guess, the legality of what you're looking to do. Can you be more specific in what, I guess, your question is?
Well, I'm reading the Attorney General's, do you follow the Attorney General's letter to its entirety?
So the Attorney General states that they are of the position that by not or disagreeing in, or prohibiting and not entering into this, if law enforcement wants to be entered, by you all voiding it at the June 30th meeting, that creates a sanctuary policy. And they're claiming that that is a violation of Chapter 908. There is no precedent that's established, so I don't disagree that it could be argued either way, but that is the Attorney General's position. And if, there is an enforcement provision in there, so with the determination on how to proceed would be up to, it's kind of a judgment call on that one, on what is is that an actual, is it law or not? And I think as Commissioner Lee stated, they make opinions. It's not binding until a court decides. So as of right now, a court hasn't decided, and that's what the city of South Miami is looking for them to do.
Chief? In your opinion,
Yes, sir.
of the 287 with the amendments?
As Commissioner Lee said, we frequently reach out to the Attorney General for his opinion. They're not binding, but we generally follow those for enforcement. You have the Attorney General's letter. It's for you to determine what that letter means.
Okay. And the same as what the sheriff said, I mean, they have to enter into the 287G, and it's voluntary but how do you feel about it? Is it going to change our department into ICE agents? I guess is what I'm trying to.
We are not conducting any raids of any kind.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so
we're now voting on just striking voluntary from the title.
correct. Can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carey?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskell?
No.
Commissioner Hoover?
No.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Mayor Enriquez?
Yes.
Motion passes. Now we're voting on taking this third whereas, leaving the first part of the first sentence up to agreement, striking the rest, and inserting that had been improperly executed without the legal authority under the city charter. Okay?
Yes. Okay, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carey?
No.
Commissioner Castillo?
No.
Commissioner Haskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoover?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Mayor Enriquez?
Yes.
Motion passes. And then finally, in the last whereas section, we're striking, reinstating, and inserting entering into. Okay? Commissioner Carey?
No.
Commissioner Castillo?
No.
Commissioner Haskell?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, the very last whereas before we get to the now therefore, near the end of the sentence, he wants to strike reinstating and change that to entering into the 87G agreement.
No.
Commissioner Hoover?
No.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Mayor Enriquez?
Yes.
Okay, so that did not pass. So the only changes that's moving, actually two changes are moving forward. We're striking voluntary and we're inserting the language that had been improperly executed without the legal authority under the city charter. So now we're going to take a vote to approve.
Can I offer an amendment?
Yes.
I may offer an amendment. Thank
Yes,
you.
well, you can make a motion, yeah.
Amendment to the existing motion, yeah. I would like to add a whereas clause that would say that whereas the commission acted in good faith, as neither, let me find this here, neither the plain text of Florida Statute 908 nor standing judicial agreements, standing judicial rulings require participating in any program or agreement authorized under Section 287 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, 8 U.S.C. S 1357. And you can find that language on page 2 of the resolution that we previously passed, resolution number 25161.
Would that be verbatim? Because I'm going to probably need that.
Yeah.
Okay. Did everybody understand the spirit of what would you mind rereading that, Commissioner?
Sure.
She wants to add
and my point,
yeah, that states.
My point is that we acted in good faith at that last week on June 30th. So my suggested amendment is whereas the commission acted in good faith as neither the plain text of Florida Statute 908 nor standing judicial rulings require participating in any program or agreement authorized under Section 287 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. And then the citation follows.
Yes, I'm actually gonna pull up the resolution from last time. Can you tell me what page that was on, Commissioner?
Yeah, it's on page 2 of the resolution with the underline and strike through what was added at that meeting.
Oh, what was added? Oh, I think that's,
Well, the resolution as it was finally adopted,
okay.
it was different than the resolution as it
Yes.
appeared on the agenda.
Let me pull that.
And it had several amendments, yeah. And my point is that there is ample legal support that not entering into a 287G agreement is permissible for a municipality. So I don't want to, put the city on the record, even though I don't agree with approving this resolution at all. If you're going to approve it, I don't want to put us on the record saying that, saying something that's not true.
I'm terribly sorry, Commissioner. I can't find the language you're talking about. This is in the amended resolution we passed on the 30th?
Yeah, resolution number 25-161, second page.
Carrie, I believe
1,
it's,
2, 3, fourth, whereas on the second page.
yeah, whereas neither the plain text of Florida Statute 908 nor standing judicial rulings require participating in any program or agreement authorized under Section 287 of the Immigration and Nationality Act.
So it's what she just read, but with a little bit before that that says the commission acted in good faith.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I added those words. Yeah. Because I don't want to say we did something that was wrong or illegal, because that could be used against us in the future. So I'm saying we acted in good faith on June 30th, which we did.
So that's the amendment. That's a motion. We would need a second.
You have any problem with that, Donnie?
So I have a motion by Commissioner Haskell. Do I have a second?
Then that
motion fails.
So now we're back to the main motion, approving this resolution as amended with the two changes you agreed to.
Do we still have an opportunity for discussion, Madam Mayor?
Yes. Go
May
ahead,
I?
Commissioner
Okay.
Carey.
I would just like to make a couple of brief statements here, so bear with me. Number one, just so that the residents of the city of Key West understand, I am the daughter of a legal immigrant. My mother came here from Cuba at the age of 7 with her mother and father and her 2 siblings. And so I do support immigration. Legal immigration is what I support. I also support the laws of our state and federal government. And I think it's very important for me to have the opportunity to say that. Also, the statement of be brave, I applaud you guys for being brave. I ask that you applaud others for also being brave, even when their opinion may not match yours. That is what's fair and just. And on the comment of one human family, may we all consider each other one human family. Again, we don't all have to agree, but let's be respectful of each other. How hypocritical to say one human family only if you agree with my opinion. So I just wanted to make those statements. And, as far as, I wrote down a lot of notes when people were speaking here today and saying things like, don't be bullied and, speaking against hatred. A lot of those names that signed up and were speaking today match some very hateful statements on social media. So let us all consider each other with respect. I hugged Commissioner Lopez when he came into the chambers, even though he and I have very opposing views. And I just think it's important for us to let's support One Human Family and let's be brave, but let's allow everybody to stand up and speak for what they believe.
Are there any other comments or discussions? All right, Carrie, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carey?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskell?
No.
Commissioner Hoover? No. Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Mayor Enriquez?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 2, authorizing the city attorney to file a declaratory judgment action against the governor, Ron DeSantis, and all necessary parties, or join in the action of the city of South Miami to determine the legality of the requirement to enter into a 287G agreement, authorizing the city attorney to take all necessary actions to effectuate the intent of this resolution.
Do I have a motion?
Oh, gosh, no, I'm sorry. We do have speakers on
Okay.
this. Apologies.
Perfect. Yes.
The first is Lucy Hawk and then Chris McNulty.
Thank you for letting me speak again. I understand that you guys feel the way you do to sign the 287G, although I do not agree that this was the best thing for the city. You are the ones who are supposed to speak for us, and I respect your position as leaders, although we very much do not see eye to eye on this. But now I'm going to ask you to also fight. You just protected yourselves from the state, from their threats, from them telling you that you need to do this. You guys decided you want to do that, but that doesn't mean we can't also join the lawsuit with South Miami. We can do both. It's not a one or the other. And a lot of attorneys were in this room that are way smarter than me that said, you guys have a really strong case. I'm not an attorney. I don't know if passing the resolution you just passed makes your case weaker, but I think you deserve it to all of the people that were in this room to find out. And that is not something that's going to happen overnight. And I urge you to really consider the obligation to hear all of your constituents, because there were 2 people who spoke tonight in favor of 287G and a lot more that didn't. I don't know where your moral bounds are on what you need to follow in percentages of who supports you and who doesn't, but that seems a little off balance. So maybe as a way to, redeem everybody who spoke, you could fight. And I really encourage you to do that. And I mean that respectfully. And all of the people who spoke tonight will have your back still. I will have your back still if you decide to join the fight. And if you decide, and I don't even know that it's a fight really, if you're asking for clarity, clarity to me is not a fight. Clarity is clarity. We just want to know if we're doing something illegal. I don't want you to do anything illegal. I don't support you doing anything illegal. And I don't know that a lot of people in this room do, but we do need to take the time to find out if this is wrong or right. And I think you have the chance now to do both. And I hope you will really consider that option. Thank you.
Is Chris still here? Is Chris McNulty? Okay, Madeline Baum. And then is Phil here? Then we'll go to Manny Hartman if he's here.
Give me just a second.
Sure.
I am not an expert in the law. However, I am pretty good with the Bible. And anyone who tells you that there is only one way to interpret Scripture is pretty sadly mistaken. In seminary, we learned that because God speaks to every person through Scripture, interpretations may definitely vary. There are thousands of biblical scholars and theologians who are much smarter than me, who debate the meaning of Scripture for their whole lives. Scripture is the living Word of God, so we cannot ever just read a sentence and take it at face value. There is context, historical meaning, intent, translation issues, and many other things to consider when looking for the true meaning of Scripture. And this is why I get frustrated with people who isolate one line of Scripture and use it as a weapon to attack others or hammer home their own warped agendas. I believe that the law is very much the same. Laws are meant to be interpreted by the courts, and that is how we do things here in the US. A law is written, but then there can be various interpretations of that law. So the courts are charged with interpreting laws. So why would we not want to challenge the Attorney General and the governor's interpretation of a law instead of simply taking their interpretation at face value, especially when many other smart people interpret it differently? I'm really tired of the ugly rhetoric on social media from many people because they have read one sentence in a letter from an attorney general or one sentence of scripture, and they decide to verbally attack other people who have different interpretations. It's really not acceptable any longer. So I ask you to consider on item number 2, which is what I hope we're still on because I was outside praying with some people, and I ask you to seek an answer from the courts on the questions around 287G, whether we do it in our own or in conjunction with the city of South Miami. Thank you.
I'm gonna go.
Hello again. My name is Chris McNulty. I'm a resident of District 1. I'm the executive director of the Queer Keys Community Center. I didn't actually prepare any statement for this, and my heart is racing, so I'm just going to speak from my heart, because when it's racing, it's speaking the truth. I don't even know if this resolution is even something that makes sense anymore, now that we've signed on with the 287G agreement. I do want to say that I do believe that you've now forced a lot of people on this island to do illegal things because we are going to protect our neighbors and our friends. So that's rough. And I'm incredibly disappointed in the city that I call home. And I really hope that you take a lot of time tonight to think through the decision that you made and make yourselves right with God. And that's all I have to say.
So is there Manny Hartman? Okay. How about Joanna Ondrzak? Braley Prescott Aruda? Wayne Dabster? Erica Jewell? Genevieve, I don't think. Julie Brown?
Hello, Commissioners, Mayor. I did not also plan to speak on this. I signed up to speak on the first one and I was skipped. I understand it was a mistake. Had a good one for you, but I'm very disheartened and disappointed that you just voted to ignore legal advice and not seek additional legal information. That is what your role is here. So you should be getting legal information to make a factual and legal decision. So I do ask that you join this lawsuit so you can get that clarity. I'm afraid of what this community has ahead of them based on the decision to enter the 287G. I'm afraid of what it's going to do to our community members who are in fear now, people who are friends and support the local police force, as most of us do, not just conservatives. And
they're calling out a bunch of names.
They're
like
members
I said,
of our
the names are
community
not,
too.
people are not
So
there because they walked out
this is going to
from
put
the decision.
everybody
They
in a
made
really
the decision. They're
difficult
going to move
position.
forward with
The best thing you can do
287G.
now is to join this lawsuit and
we're going to
get
watch it a little bit
clarity
longer
and
when they want to
do fight for humanity. My mom sent me a text tonight and said, "Praying for humanity to prevail." Sorry, Mom. Thank you.
Is Burbeth Foster still here? Or Julie Hill? Or Bert Sis? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Stacy Stahl? Gilda Niles.
They all on there. Y'all like and subscribe. I got a lot.
I think
got a
that's
lot of
it.
other
Anyone else want to
content
speak
y'all
on
can
number
watch.
2? Okay.
All right, thank you. So do we have a motion?
Can I point one thing out?
Yes.
Actually, a colleague of mine emailed me, and I asked Commissioner Kaufman for clarity, but I think in the very last whereas section, it says it's in the best interest of the city of South Miami, and I think that needs to be changed to Key West, just to make that. I think it's just a Scrivener's error, so.
Okay. With that correction, Commissioner Haskell?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the interest of compromise, like to move to approve this resolution with an important change. That would be to delete in the heading, to delete the part that authorizes the city attorney to file a declaratory judgment action against the governor, Ron DeSantis, and all necessary parties. So skip that part, and because it's kind of an either or situation. So skip that part, no declaratory judgment, but agree to join in the action of the city of South Miami to determine the legality of the requirement to enter into this 287 agreement. So that's what I'm suggesting, that we support the efforts of the city of Miami, and we do not request our attorney to file the declaratory judgment.
With that, do we have a second on her motion? I have a second by Commissioner Hoover. Any other discussion?
Question. Go. Oh, I was going to ask
Commissioner
Kendall.
Castillo.
Kendall, this going to cost us money in the city of Key West, joining this lawsuit?
It would depend if we joined in, how that would work. If it was just to take that out, I'm gonna have to look to see what the language of the actual sections say regarding that. But if we joined into their lawsuit, it'd be more cost effective than filing our own.
Chief? I just got to have an opinion from you. I know, but the motion, I mean, the agreement that we just have any bearer on the agreement that we just passed?
I would defer to
Kendall?
the city attorney. I don't have an opinion on this.
What was the question?
The 287G agreement and us joining the Miami-Dade in the lawsuit against DeSantis and the governor.
Would it have any effect?
Yes.
It wouldn't have any effect until a decision was made, and then it would come back to the commission to decide if you want to terminate it based on what the decision is. If it is a requirement, if it's a law, that would be something that we would be determined at that point once a decision is made by the court.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Lee.
So I'm not necessarily opposed to joining the deck action with South Miami, but I'm not sure doing it, spending money to do it, what the end result is. South Miami's gonna get an answer, right? One way or another, the judge is gonna either, the way I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, the judge is either gonna say, I'm not giving you an answer because you don't have standing, or the judge is going to answer the questions that South Miami's already asked.
Correct. So yes, they'd have to get past the motion to dismiss on the standing portion, and then before they could get to those specific deck actions that they're asking for the court to decide on.
So therefore, we would only be joining this deck action as moral support.
to get the same answers and in complete honesty, our facts would be a little different. I think because I think the argument in the motion to dismiss is that they don't have standing because there was no threat of removing or suspension of the mayor in that nature. We, as a city, it could be argued that we might have a better chance at standing on that because there has been a threat. Has a threat been acted upon? Not at this time. So again, that would be something to argue. I haven't vetted those arguments fully, but as to standing, I mean, it could be argued again either way, but I would state that we potentially have better standing just based on the letter we did receive.
In our resolution we passed on the 25th, in the resolution, we gave our support. We voted to support South Miami in their efforts. So I'm just not sure whether I'm not sure doing this and spending the money. I mean, if indeed South Miami, if the judge says you don't have standing, then I could see supporting us saying, okay, they didn't have standing. We should go in now and give it a shot and see if we have standing and get the answers. But I'm not sure if joining them right now, it kind of makes sense at this point.
And I would suggest a potential would be, you do, as you stated, there is a resolution that states that you have support for South Miami and what they're doing. Potentially, maybe it could be postponed to say until maybe the motion to dismiss is determined, if that's something you want to consider based on that, or, bring it back.
All right, so right now we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on her amendment? Commissioner Haskell's amendment. You want to say the amendment one more time,
Well,
please?
I think this would be the whole thing, because it is either or. So this would be, the motion is to approve this resolution, but with choosing join in the action of the city of South Miami to determine the legality of the requirement to enter into the 287G instead of the first part.
Authorizing the city attorney to file a deck act. Correct. Okay. Any other discussion? Carrie, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carey?
No.
Commissioner Castillo?
No.
Commissioner Haskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoover?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
No.
Mayor Enriquez?
No.
Okay, motion fails. There could be another motion, or we can move on.
We can move on, please. Oh,
There could be another.
go ahead.
Okay. Item number 3, expressing support for extending temporary protected status, TPS, for Haitians. And again, we do have public comment.
Okay.
Lucy Hawk, Chris McNulty, and Madeline Baum.
Good evening again. I have a really nice, very city reaffirming thing to say, but really, why don't you just, do you want to just throw it all in, or do you want to support anyone in this community? That's really like kind of where we're at now. In 2022, Mayor Johnson and the commission proclaimed May as Haitian Heritage Month, but it doesn't seem like any information we give you matters. So I'm really not going to even waste my time reading this, because obviously you guys don't actually care about your constituents.
I second Lucy Hawk.
Madeline? And then Abby Weiss, is she still here?
Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. I just want to end with words of scripture, the words of Jesus, because that's how I live my life. And I know that that's how all of you want to live your lives. And I don't have any idea why we would not support the extension of TPS for our Haitian neighbors. Thank you.
Abby and Julie Hill, did we determine if she is here?
My name is Abby Weiss. Regarding item 3, I'd like to share a firsthand experience with a Haitian member of our community. I am a volunteer with Keys to Be the Change and read with several Haitian students at Poinciana Elementary. A few months ago, one of the students and I discussed the words optimist and pessimist, how to spell, pronounce, and define. Every time we met, I started our conversation with, "Are you an optimist or a pessimist today?" I'll refer to this child as optimist. Optimist will begin HOB in the fall, and in an effort to ensure they are as prepared as possible, we agreed we would like to continue reading together over the summer. I worked with Keys to Be the Change and the Poinciana parent educator to schedule. Reaching kids over the summer is difficult, so I was excited on June 24th when I learned we had a meeting scheduled for June 30th. Optimist wants to be a cardiologist, and I was ready with materials to learn about how the heart works, new vocabulary, and help bring that dream a tiny step closer to reality. I want to help optimists see that a career as a cardiologist is a possibility, and there are invested partners to help make that happen. On June 27th, the Secretary of Homeland Security announced temporary protected status designated for Haitians would be terminated as of September 2nd. On June 30th, I sat in the Poinciana office waiting for Optimist to arrive. The parent educator called both parents several times. The phones rang, then calls were sent to voicemail. Optimist lives walking distance from the school. I waited patiently, but Optimist never showed. Was it possible they were too scared to come to their own school? Could their parents have deemed it too unsafe to let Optimist walk a few blocks from home? Do they feel that this community and the only elementary school this child has ever known are now a threat to their family? These questions raced through my mind, then gave way to the most frightening question of all. If the rescinded designation remains in effect, has Optimist's public school education ceased altogether? Is a 5th grade education all this child, so full of potential, interest, and empathy, will receive from Key West? Commissioners, I encourage you to support Optimist and the other 5,000 Haitian members of our community by voting in support of this resolution to extend temporary protected status. Let's ensure safety, security, and access to a public school education for all children in Key West.
Thank you. Julie, you want to go again?
So I don't think other people are here. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item? Please come up.
Thank you for taking the time again. I have some questions about this. I mean, last week we talked about the number of members of our community who are Haitian. This is not just here in Monroe County or Key West. This is South Florida. I mean, this is a lot of the state of Florida. You know, we heard a lot of arguments about what we lose by not extending this. What do we lose by extending it? Like, what is the harm in voting to extend this? Are we might aggravate some politicians? Is that the risk that we run? Are we putting the city on the line by doing this? I'm struggling to understand where the hesitancy is here. I can tell you, you know, it's not just the things that we have here in the city that rely on these folks. It's county services, it's regional services. I mean, go look at where our recycling goes and who's processing it. I mean, a lot of the functions of the city, either direct or indirect, rely on these folks. Why is this such a conundrum? And we've already talked about the moral stuff and everything else, and that's really important, but I'm not gonna belabor it again. I just don't understand what the risk is to extending this. I'd love some clarity on that. Thank you.
That's it. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, me again, Heather Slipko Bathurst, 1417 8th Street, District 4. I just want to say I've gotten a couple phone calls this week from city employees who are the directors or directly in charge with various members of the Haitian community that fall under TPS, asking my organization that literally I created a month ago with several other people in this hall to actively try to help our immigrant community members. Literally, I've been doing this activism work this round for 1 month, and your people are calling me and my people asking for help and guidance and asking us for pro bono lawyers because they're about to lose no less than 8 employees. Regardless of how you vote today, TPS is ending. We're kicking all of the Haitians out of the country. It's a big fucking mess. Excuse my language. Your people are calling my people, asking for help because they don't know what to do. Clean your house.
No, that was not.
That's it.
That's it? All right, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Castillo. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Carey.
Just for clarity, we don't have the authority, the city does not have the authority to extend this, but we are urging and asking for, and I think it's quite appropriate that we do so. It is true, we have a large Haitian community here, and they thought that the original date was in February of 2026, and backing it up so quickly now to August 3rd with the termination date of September 2nd seems very, very quickly that these families would have to make arrangements. So it does seem quite appropriate that we just ask for this consideration. But just for clarity, I know one gentleman was asking, the city has absolutely no authority to make this decision, only to urge the government to do so. So, but I'll be supporting this.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Castillo.
Yeah, Madam Mayor. I think some other language should be added to this here, being not only Haitians, it should extend to all the people that will be sent back in the same situation. I mean, it singles out just Haitian.
Well, I believe that's what it's in reference to for the
But
TPS.
there's other. Honduras is one. And don't get me wrong, I'm in full support of it. So it's not like I just don't want to leave anybody out that's under the same sanctions as my fellow Haitian. Okay. We don't know what they are, but we'll have to bring it back.
Well, I guess the question is, this is a specific program, temporary protected status under a former administration. I don't know if, are there other groups under
There are.
TPS? I don't know.
Madam Mayor?
Commissioner Haskell.
I believe this humanitarian parole program primarily affects nationals from 4 countries, like Commissioner Castillo said, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela.
Commissioner Lee.
We're talking about TPS or the parole program? I'm not, I think this is just temporary protection. I think they're different.
For Haitians.
For Haitians.
I see. Well, could be. I don't know. We might want to postpone this until Commissioner Kaufman can be back and participate.
We can bring it back. So we can go ahead and go with the resolution we have now. Since we got a commission, there's
Are you
no
making-
sense in putting it on hold.
You're making a motion for as is right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have,
I second the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, we have a
We
motion.
already
This is
have-
discussion.
I'm listening.
That's
Okay.
Okay.
So, in speaking with our HR director today, we do have to follow the federal law. The city could be exposed to hundreds of thousands of dollars in civil fines per worker, as well as criminal penalties, including fines and imprisonment. And then as your mayor, I cannot support putting City Hall in this position. So, and we do have some employees that it could affect, but we have to follow the federal law.
Madam
Commissioner
Mayor,
Carey.
just for clarity, we're just urging the government, right? It's just asking them to support changing the date.
Correct. It's ultimately, I don't want to speak for Commissioner Kaufman, but my impression of it is just expressing support that we would urge, right, the continuation
little
of
more
TPS.
time.
It's not that we're implementing anything, but that we would support an extension of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carey?
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo?
Yes.
Commissioner Haskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoover?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Mayor Enriquez?
No.
Motion passes. Okay, item number 4, ordinances first reading. An ordinance of the City of Key West, of the City Commission of Key West, Florida pursuant to Section 8.01 of the Key West Charter, amending ordinance number 25-11, changing the election date for the proposed amendments to Section 3.01A and B of the City Charter to be placed for referendum on the November 3rd, 2026 general election ballot, clarifying the proposed amending language in Section 3.01A, changing the term of future mayors from 2 years to 4 years, clarifying the proposed amending language in Section 3.01B, changing the term limits for future mayors from 8 to 12 years, providing for severability, providing for repeal of